Sharanam Prabhade Ramade Ram Prabhade Avakara Kamala Vare Nakama Nikasena Lalita Hiranya Kashipu Anurudrima Keshavadrita Narahori Rupa Nedavadrita Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Sringadev Bhagavan ki jai, Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharine Nirvise Shishunibari Paschatistani. As I expressed before, we are going to ask you, who saw the Nrsingadev film, to tell us what stood out for you. And if you didn't see the film and you know the story, you could also share what stands out for you in the story. I will go first. Two things that, well, there are many things that stood out, but two things that really stood out for me was how angry Lord Nrsingadev was. He was really angry. And of course, anger comes from Krishna, as we saw. That's the incarnation of Krishna, where he's very angry because Krishna gets upset when his devotee is offended. He gets upset with the person who offends his devotee, because if you love somebody and they offend that person you love, then you get angry. Yeah, so he was angry. I don't want to hog the show, so I could say so many things. But I kind of was wishing I was there to watch the fight. It was a good fight. Better than mixed martial. Better than, what is it?
MMA, yeah.
Better than MMA World Championships. It's way better. But another thing that really stood out for me was when Prahlad Maharaj was being pushed off a cliff, and they Hollywoodized this scene, I think. The two servants of Hiranyakashipu who were supposed to push him off the cliff were talking to him and saying, why don't you just give up Vishnu and then you can live. We won't have to push you off the cliff. And he's like, whatever, I don't care, whatever Vishnu wants. If he wants me to live, he wants me to die, whatever. It's like, no problem, push me. So when he said that, I said, yes, this is a big lesson for all of us, whatever Krishna wants. And you didn't see Prahlad complain through all that. It's like, my Lord, why have you forsaken me? And what did I ever do wrong to you? I'm just trying to serve you, and why did you do this? The whole time he was chanting, and he was seeing Krishna everywhere, seeing Krishna protect him. And he was so surrendered that he could say, Krishna will do with me what he wants, whatever, So, the body may be killed, whatever, but... So that's the attitude that a pure devotee has, and that attitude is very important because life, kicks us. And when it kicks us, sometimes we lose faith. Krishna, why did you allow this to happen, right? But the attitude is, Krishna's always my protector, and whatever he wants, he'll do, and it's always the best. So that stood out for me. Who else would like to share? Yes, sir.
I like very much the point afterwards when these two...
Oh, wait, where's the... We're going to give you the mic. Who's ever going to share, just hold this, because then the people watching will get to hear you. Yeah, why not?
Hare Krishna. I like very much the part where afterwards the guards, when Prahlad Maharaj, they found him alive, they joined the kirtan party.
That was definitely Bollywood.
And I was thinking, like, how powerful is this devotion and bhakti that they transformed.
Maybe it's there in the Shastra. But in all the Bollywood movies, all the villains and everybody ends up dancing together. That's just part of what you have to make a Bollywood movie, right?
Maybe I was some demon last life now and joining the kirtan party.
Yeah. That was nice. Yeah. For those of you who didn't see it, these two servants of Hiranyakashipu were pushing Prahlad off the mountain. When Prahlad came back, I guess their faith in Vishnu awakened, and they joined the kirtan party. They were playing mridanga and kartals really well, like they've been playing for a long time. Yes.
So, for me, the moment, I'm always looking with a critical eye. So I was first being skeptical and seeing this kind of like looked like AI details, the eyes, and but also the pixelated. So I was in my mind already like complaining, but later on there was a few moments, like especially when Prahlad was talking to Vishnu, he was picked up. It was a moment of what we always, it feels we hear about, or we read about at the moment, or the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev in the beginning, when his effulgence in his arms, and that really stood out for me. That I was thinking like, oh yeah, it's now we actually see what we hear and what we read, and so that moment was those two moments.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but there was a group of actors during Prabhupada's time. They were called the Vaikuntha Players. And Prabhupada loved them so much, he actually gave them money to fly to India and perform in India. So it was like Prabhupada's drama troupe. And once after seeing a drama, he commented, he said, "This is better than the books." For the reason you said, because, when you read something, you have to visualize it. And you may not be good at visualization, and you may be emotionally not able to connect to it, because it's so foreign and so far away. But when you see it, you get it. And I think we all experienced that in the movie. Like, this is so good to see it. Yes.
Yeah, for me it was amazing to see how, as you mentioned, Prahlad was surrendered and nothing like shaked him. But then also the power of the truth that he was sharing with his Gurukuli friends, and how they transformed when they were listening and hearing the truth that actually lies in the soul, and that is
And they were also transformed by just his devotion.
Yeah.
Seeing his devotion. Which reminds me of how Prabhupada transformed his early followers just by them seeing him. Like, who is this person? Where is his consciousness? What's going on? We are so far away from him. And it allured them. So that was also part of Prahlad's. I mean, every saintly person attracts people, for sure. Thank you.
I think another part in the story, what is interesting to me is that Hiranyakashipu, he had so much fear or he started to fear his own son because he could see that he's unbeatable, and that kind of drove him mad. And I think that's an interesting part of the story, that he tried to control the situation, but he wasn't able to, because his son took shelter to Lord Vishnu.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you know Hiranyakashipu had control of the universe? There was a scene where he pulled Indra off his throne. So he took over Indra's the king of heaven. He took over Indra's position, got rid of. He was killing a lot of demigods, at least in the movie. And everyone was afraid of him, and even Narada Muni, everybody was afraid of him. And he was afraid of his son. Hare Krishna. That's interesting, isn't it? The power of a Vaishnava, yes.
Okay, I make a translation to be more correctly.
Okay.
So I had some thoughts and something I understand about that, but I would like to hear from you because it's very special for me question. When someone is very sick, and how much does prayer for that person affect? If there is karma and trails for a person, is it more for people to feel compassion, or can prayer really affect and make these changes?
Well, I have a story that's amazing, and I don't know if many of you have heard this. Well, before I tell the story, the first thing is that when Prabhupada was ill, we asked him if we could pray for him. Prabhupada said, you can pray, but you have to say, Krishna, if you desire, then cure Prabhupada. You can't say, Krishna, cure him. That was not what... Prabhupada would not want to order Krishna.
It was in your book,
Yeah, Krishna, if you so desire. So, naturally, we wanted to pray for him. And there's a story, my godbrother told me, he was with Prabhupada, and they were sitting on a bench in Germany. And Prabhupada turned to this devotee, it's a young devotee, maybe 1 or 2 years, young man, maybe 22. Prabhupada said, please pray for me. And the devotee was completely caught off guard. He said, Prabhupada, how can I pray for you? And Prabhupada said, you're a Vaishnava, Krishna will hear your prayers. I have another story. Well, I'll tell you the story I was going to tell you because I could forget. When Prabhupada was ill in his last days, he asked for a cow to come outside his room. He said, bring the cow. The cow will pray for me. Hare Krishna. The mother. Right? So, I used to see an acupuncturist, and he was a Buddhist monk. And his office was there was a tent, like his office was his Buddhist center where he practiced. So in that center they had a big temple room. And right around the time I had my surgery, he had the same surgery. And he's like the same age as me, maybe a year older. So they give you all these allopathic medicines, and I didn't want to take them. So I had a devotee my secretary, who knows him, said, please call him and ask him, what should I do? Like, what Chinese medicine should I take? Because I just had the operation, it's the same one he had. So I thought, well, this would be a way to get off the allopathic medicine. And he said, the best medicine is prayer. And I will have all my disciples pray for him. This is acupuncturist. The best medicine is prayer. So you could probably Google and find situations in which Yeah,
I understand, but what thoughts I need to have if I understand that there is karma, there is some challenges for people, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
If you Krishna, if you so desire. If this is the best thing.
what feeling I need to feel inside?
Well, let's say it's a devotee that's very dear to you. This devotee is important for you. This devotee is helping other people. You may say, Krishna, we need this devotee, please. Don't let him go. You could say that, that's possible, right? There's another thing, is that you have like ideal, like how should we pray, ideally. And we can discuss that. And you also have your human side, like I can't pray like this. If I pray, it'll be fake. Like, Krishna, whatever you want, just, like I don't feel like that. No, please. Or like you could, let's say this friend, right? He's very ill. Krishna, please save him. He has a wife and children. They'll be devastated if he leaves, That's how you feel, right? That's how you would feel. So you could pray that way. You could say, Krishna, whatever you want. All right. But that might be artificial or fanatical. Or maybe it's real. But if it's not real, why pray it? You're praying Krishna whatever you want, but inside you're feeling, oh, this is going to be horrible if he dies. His wife and kids need him. Right? And like you're very close with the kids. And so that's how you feel. So you can pray that way. Of course, everything's up to Krishna. But often people ask me to pray for them, and I just visualize them like in the place they want to be. I don't even pray. It's kind of like I'm sending a message to Krishna. This is what I see. Can you make it happen? And the more we advance, the more Krishna will listen. There's a story where a man was in a hospital. He had done lots of service for Prabhupada. Apparently he had a few days to live. Prabhupada visited him in the hospital, said, you can leave the hospital, you're not going to die. And he didn't die. So either Prabhupada knew he wasn't going to die, or Prabhupada asked Krishna to extend his life. That's possible. So, did that answer your question, or do you want more elaboration? Or you want to ask again what I missed?
It's maybe it is a theme that should take more time. So that's why. Yeah. Thank you for.
Well, there's a really interesting purport in which Prabhupada said we should not pray to Krishna for anything material. He said, but if you're responsible for other people, then you can pray to Krishna to help you because you have to protect them. So he said, like a husband, sometimes it may be challenging to maintain your family, but that's your duty. You might pray to Krishna, please help me. I applied for this job, please help me because I have to maintain my family. Or if I don't get this job, my daughter can't go to this school, or my son can't go to this school. It's going to be bad for them. So that's circumstantial. And I think for most devotees, it's natural to pray that way because most devotees are not on the level of Krishna, whatever you want. So, because you know what you want, right? And the main thing is, okay, even if I pray, Krishna, help me get this job or maintain this job, please don't let them fire me because it's going to be a problem. And ultimately, why? Is because I want to do pure devotional service. I want to serve you, and this could create a complication in my service. So it's really a prayer for service and pure service, even when you're praying for something, because it's, there was a devotee, he was a temple president for like 20 years of the temple. So he made lots of sacrifice. I think he was working full time and he was maintaining the temple. That's a big sacrifice. Then he told me, I don't know, maybe after like 20 years of being temple president, he got this job, which starts at 4 a.m. And he services some of the equipment there when it breaks down. They need somebody there because they need that equipment to run. He services it. And most of the time, there's nothing to service. So he's there from 4 a.m. till noon. And what does he do? Chants. He was chanting 64 rounds, I think, and reading Bhagavatam at his job. So it's like, please, Krishna, give me a job like that. That's not bad to pray for, because that will help your bhakti, right? Krishna, give me a job where I just tell everyone else what to do. And I sit around and read Bhagavatam. And of course, you can get a job as a security guard and chant a lot of rounds. But, so, praying according to your level of advancement and realization, and praying in a way which is helpful. And then, let's say, there's that situation of your friend and the family. It's going to be a disaster if he goes. And say, Krishna, you may want him to go, but can you just keep him here? Because this will be better. Or he's the temple president, and he's such a good temple president, and the temple has improved so much. Please don't let him go. We can pray that way, and ultimately we know, Krishna, you'll do whatever you want. So you could say, if you so desire, please save him. I can't force you. But I think sometimes the pure devotees, they'll just tell Krishna. Sometimes they have a certain desire that's so strong, and say, Krishna, you have to do this. Krishna, you have to give mercy to these people here in Kali Yuga. Just let them chant 16 rounds. Follow 4 principles and give them prema just for that. And Krishna says, what can I say? You asked for it. I have to do it. I think that's also a factor. But the more you are Krishna conscious, the more Krishna's going to listen to you. And I think like there's a book called The Praying Wife. It's a Christian book about a wife who prays for the spiritual well-being of her husband. But you could say it's the duty of a wife. Pray for her husband. The husband's duty, pray for your wife. Pray that she's blessed. Pray for the well-being. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what devotees do. They pray for the well-being of others. Right? Krishna, help these people. Prabhupada said, Krishna, help these people understand my message. Right? Krishna, give me the intelligence what to say. Krishna, guide me where to go, how to do it, everything. Because that's all for service. So certainly you pray for that. No question. Krishna, how can I do this service if you don't? I'm putting myself out and you have to help me. You can even say that. You want to hear a funny story? I was in Mauritius. The temple is very poor and devotees are always taking buses. And it rains a lot there, so you got to walk through the mud, get wet, walk to the bus station, sit on the bus for a half hour or an hour to get anywhere. So one devotee had just come from South Africa. At that time, South Africa was quite a wealthy country, and Mauritius was very poor. So he was used to a different standard, so he had to go into town. And he was saying to the deities, why are you making it so hard for the devotees? You should provide transportation for them. He's mad at the deity. Why, I have to take a bus. They have to take a bus. It's not fair. And then one man, friend of the temple, drove up in his BMW and said, I'm going into town. Do you need a ride? Okay. I have another story. This other story will answer your question. So these devotees, their car broke down. The other got in an accident or their car broke down. And they didn't have any money to get a new car, or they didn't have money to get a decent car. And their livelihood depended on the car. And they had made a lot of sacrifices in spreading Krishna consciousness. And they're wondering, okay, Krishna, I give everything to you, and this is what you do. You leave me stranded with no car, and now I can't make money. And she's angry with Krishna. And I said, cool down. Just wait and see what happens. I was confident something magical will happen. 2 or 3 weeks later, she called me and said, a friend of ours just gave us money to buy a car. And a much better car than they had. So sometimes we don't pray, we just have faith and we wait. We know Krishna's going to give it. It's an XC70 Volvo station wagon. Very nice. And they had a Ford. I think they had a Ford something. I forget. It was much nicer. So Krishna said, you've done so much service, you need a nicer car. So I'll crash your old car. You don't get hurt. And I know the money will come. But we're doubting. I've had times when I had no money, and like I don't know how I was going to, I have a family. Like, how am I going to do this? And I surrendered to preaching, and just mystically. Like one time, I was in Mexico, and I was on my way to India. And my family's living in India, so I have to go there with enough money, at least that they can live there. And I didn't have it. And that meant I was going to go to India for a few weeks, and then I'd have to leave. And, I'm already gone so much. I was doing a program, I was in Mexico, and then I went through my email, and I saw this PayPal transfer of $9,972. I was like, must be a mistake or a scam, right? And I wrote the devotee, he said, I got an inheritance, and I like what you're doing. So if any of you have an inheritance and like what I'm doing, I'll give you my email. So things like that happen, like you have faith, and then Krishna's like, So then I started, and then it happened again. Same situation I had, like going, because we used to live in India. It was like, and I have to make money outside of India to live in India. How am I going to do this? Same situation, going to India, I don't have enough money for me to stay there, because I have to give money to my family, and it wasn't enough, so I have to go out. I went to Oman or somewhere. I came in with a broken computer and came out with a new computer and $8,000. It's like, then I said, Krishna, I have faith in you, but could you give it a little sooner? Because I'm like really in anxiety those last 2 weeks when the bills are coming, and I don't know where money's coming. So he's responded now. He gives it sooner, and he gives more now, probably more than I need, so I don't have to worry. Or enough to what I need and to spread Krishna consciousness. So I think a lot of it has to do with faith. So there's this like prayer and faith, and sometimes you have faith, you don't pray because you just know. I know Krishna is going to give it. I don't even have to ask for it. So that's nice. Okay, who else would like to share? But as far as Prahlad is concerned, Prahlad was seeing Krishna. So when these attempts on his life are happening, he was seeing Krishna. And so the Bhagavatam says, when you see Krishna, you're fearless. So that's why he's fearless, because he saw Krishna everywhere. So Krishna's there, what's there to fear? Right? So whenever we're afraid, it's because we don't see Krishna there. Right? Okay. Who else saw the movie that wants to share something that stood out for them? I'm sure that part stood out for everybody.
Yes, I found the movie very beautiful. In the beginning, a little bit difficult because there was a lot of violence and the sound was very loud, but I was very impressed with the love from Prahlad. And after everything what his dad did, that he was still very loving for his father. That was impressive.
That is so unusual. Yeah. Prahlad, take any benediction that you want. Send my father to hell for 10 zillion lifetimes. No. May my father suffer 1 million more times than I did. No. Father's trying to kill you. You can't imitate this. Don't even try, because if you do, it's not healthy. But the principle is there. The father tries to kill you mercilessly, and you pray for his liberation. That's like inconceivable.
And also compliments for the people who made the movie, because it was all love from Prahlad. It was so much love, it's so cute, and you really want to hug him. It was very beautiful. Very well.
Yes, Prahlad was very cute. But devotees are lovable, so naturally, he would be lovable. I've spoken extensively about this idea of wanting the well-being of those who are against you. And that's very challenging for most people. Most people, the best is, I just don't want to think about them, and I won't retaliate, but that, it stops there. I'm not going to get back at them. But if you take the example of what a pure Vaishnava is, the pure Vaishnava is, his compassion has no bounds. It's not dependent on how he's treated. And he's just compassionate. And, someone may become a disciple of Prabhupada and turn against him, whatever. And some disciples did. But he would never turn against them. He would never reject them. They would reject him, and he would always be open to welcome them back because he had no enmity in his heart. And sometimes someone's doing something that's disturbing others, or it's illegal, whatever, you may have to take action. Have him arrested or punished in some way or restricted, but it doesn't mean you hate him. So that Prabhupada might say, someone was stealing or something. And Prabhupada, they brought this devotee to Prabhupada and he said, okay, we forgive you, just don't do it again. If you do it again, we'll turn you into the police. And he did it again, and so Prabhupada said then, call the police. But it wasn't that Prabhupada hated him or was trying to make him suffer. So that's something to just meditate on. The devotees are well-wisher to everyone, no matter how they treat him. Yes, thank you. What else?
Hare
Yes.
Krishna, Prabhuji. My question is, Prahlad was, having faith in Krishna, and he was having this belief, even if he doesn't do anything to protect himself, Krishna will protect him. But in today's real life, we will have to take some action from our side. We cannot sit, this might be wrong. I'm just saying what we have been taught. You should not sit idle and just thinking that somebody will come and save you. You have to take action. You have to think about people that you are protecting, or people that needs protection. You cannot just leave it on God. You have to take some action. So what are your thoughts on that?
There's two things. Protecting others and protecting yourself. Those are two different scenarios. So, if others were being tormented, Prahlad would have protected them. He would have tried. But unless Prahlad saw that Vishnu was protecting everyone, then he wouldn't have done anything because he could see it. So that's why he didn't protect himself, because he could see. But like you say, it doesn't mean we wouldn't protect ourselves. But he could see Vishnu was there protecting him, so he had that faith. He also had the faith that, well, if Vishnu wants me to die, that's okay. So that's a high level of faith. So we can't imitate that. The difficult thing is that our scriptures say that if someone attacks you, don't defend yourself. If someone attacks another, a Vaishnava, defend them. It's kind of like you say, well, I deserve this or whatever. But let's say someone attacks you and they could murder you. Naturally, you want to save your life, and you have children, and if you're not here, then So there's so many other considerations. And I think the instinctive reaction for any devotee is, Krishna saved me, immediately. So Nityananda did not try to protect himself. Jagai, or I think it was Madhai, attacked him and he didn't try to defend himself. So that's an example. But that's a difficult example because there could be so many ramifications from not protecting yourself, but it's an idea. So, but I don't think in answer to your question, I would say, well, if you see Krishna everywhere, like Prahlad did, you wouldn't protect yourself because you would know you're protected and you don't have to. This also I think it's a matter of common sense also. That what you have to do. Because Prabhupada said you should save yourself first, so you have to take care of yourself first. Can't take care of anybody else if you're not taken care of. So it's a use of common sense. But we were joking after the movie. I said, I'm not going to wear a seatbelt. I'll just see Krishna everywhere. You know. What else did I say? I said one other thing. Who was in the car with me? I said two things. I forget. Do you remember? I said, I'm not going to wear a seatbelt. I'm just going to depend on Krishna. Yeah. Krishna, you know, I mean, because you can say, well, there's Mare Krishna Rake Ke Rake Krishna Mare Ke. Krishna wants you to live. No seatbelt will save you. Krishna wants you to live. You don't need a seatbelt. Krishna wants you to die. No seatbelt will save you. But I don't think, in practical terms, Prabhupada would. Maybe he might, in a sense. No, I think we were saying. No, the first thing I said is, I said, Toshan, since Lord Nrsingadeva will protect us, should we drive through all the red lights? And he said, well, when you were a young devotee, did devotees think that way? And I said, yeah, some did. Krishna will protect us. So I think, you have philosophy and practicality, and you have to know where they merge and where they separate, and you have to be intelligent enough. But we have also seen that some devotees, their faith is so deep that they'll say, I don't want to wear a seatbelt. That way I know if Krishna wants me to die, I will. And you might say, but Prabhu, but, and that Prabhu is like, no. I have faith in Krishna, and I don't want to wear a seatbelt. So that's their prerogative, It's not that you have to do that, or you think, you're trying to tell them that's not actually our philosophy. But some devotees are like that. They just have so much faith. Krishna wants me to die, I'll die. If he doesn't, I won't. I don't need a seatbelt. But how far do you extend that? Drive off the cliff. If Krishna wants you to live, the car will crash and you'll fly out the window 1 second before and land on your feet. Things like that do happen. But it's not like we're supposed to depend on it. And if we taught like that, we'd have a lot of crazy people in our movement. We'd take sane people and we'd make them crazy. But at the same time, you don't want to minimize faith, because faith can create miracles. Like someone maybe has cancer and they're just like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to pray and depend. And sometimes they get cured. Things like that happen. And sometimes the chemo kills you. So. Anyway, that's a little ambiguous answer, but it's very subjective also, because the individual is going to determine. I think it's natural reaction if someone's attacking us, we'll run or defend ourselves. We won't say, kill me, it doesn't matter. Maybe we should. But when the devotees were in Russia and they were arrested, they didn't. They went to prison, and when they were going to prison, the guards said, if you just tell us where all the other devotees are, you don't have to go to prison, but if you don't, you will. And if you go to prison, you might die in prison, you might have permanent psychological damage, this is what we're going to do. The devotee said, no, I won't tell you. So that was their faith. Very deep faith. And you might say, I wouldn't have done that. That's okay. But then, you have to live the rest of your life knowing that all these other devotees were found and tortured in prison because you were trying to protect yourself. So our philosophy, would say just accept it, it's your karma. That's another way of looking. Maybe it's my karma. But it requires faith. And hopefully you'll never be in a position like that where you have to make such a serious decision. But I know as a father and also as a guru, I have so many dependents. Like when I went for the operation, they said, well, there's a 3% chance you might die. And I said to myself, the world's so screwed up, I wouldn't mind. It's not a problem. But then I said, well, it is a problem because I have people depending on me, and we have service to do. And my daughter was like 23 at the time, so that's like too young. And my wife also was. She loves me too much. If she didn't like me, I go, I'll die and make her happy. She'll get, she'll be happy. Doesn't have to cook for me anymore. It wasn't like that. So when Prabhupada was ill, this is another mystical thing that happened. It's difficult to understand. But at one point he said, Krishna has given me the choice to stay or leave. So the devotee said, well, if Krishna gives you the choice, then please stay. But up to that point, Prabhupada was not planning to stay. Interesting, isn't it? Like, and we said, Prabhupada, please stay. And he said, okay, give me something to eat or drink, It didn't work. His body he couldn't recuperate. But he at least he had the intention. He thought that Krishna would allow it. I don't know what happened. Maybe he changed his mind, or it was not physically possible. But for the devotee's sake, he said, okay, I will stay. And prior to that, he said, I don't want to be here because I'm an inconvenience for all of you. You just have to take care of me. And it's a waste, and I can't do anything, so why stay? That's how he felt. So let me leave. Well, we don't want you to leave. Okay, I'll stay. What else? Who else? What else?
Somebody don't have, I would like to add and
Sure.
ask a question about everything we talked about.
Okay.
I have also.
The question is like that. So can we say that regarding all questions about like protections and prayer and some different actions and about faith, yeah? So maybe it is more important what level of consciousness and love we experience. So it doesn't matter, I think, what really happens and what really we think is better for us or for somebody, but it's a question what thoughts we have about that, and if it is about our ego or about something that we cannot accept, or about even if it will happen in another way that we want, but we feel more love, more special experience that makes this life more closer to feeling of this nature.
Yeah, well, your level of Krishna consciousness, your faith in Krishna, your devotion and your desire is all going to affect how you respond to everything. So the same thing's going to happen and we'll respond differently because of our level of Krishna consciousness and our faith. The point is, your response should bring you closer to Krishna. And how you respond today and how you respond 50 years from now may be different. And how you respond today will bring you closer to Krishna. If you responded the same way 50 years from now, it may not, because you're in a different state of consciousness. So the shoe doesn't fit anymore for you. So you have to, you will naturally respond according to your level of consciousness. Unless you think you're higher than you actually are, then you'll respond in a way that's not going to work for you because it's not who you are. And you'll like try to respond this way, but it's so unnatural you won't be able to maintain it. You'll try to respond like Prahlad Maharaj, but just try to respond like Prahlad Maharaj, but on your level, like how much you can be like him. And that, when you're new in Krishna consciousness, sometimes you don't know what level you're on, because when you've been a devotee 30 years, you have experience. You have so much experience. I thought I was better than I was. And I ran into many difficulties and challenges. And I'm a little older and more honest, and my ego is a little shrunk. Then I have enough experience to know I'm not here, although I thought I was. And it's good. We want to shoot high. And most devotees, they start off shooting high. And after a while, they kind of figure out where they have to land to continue, because they can't maintain it. Some can maintain it, but most shoot a lot higher than they can maintain it, because they don't know themselves well enough. Especially when you're younger as a devotee, you're so enthusiastic, and you're coming straight out of the material world, and you're like burned out by it. So you have a lot of energy to go for it. But when you take the long road of bhakti, decade after decade, you realize it's like that initial fresh energy and frustration, that was just like a few years. Now it's actually got to come from your devotion, not from your frustration or aversion. And you ever run a race when you're like in high school? You run like 400 meters or something. You run too fast in the beginning and you're ahead of everybody, and then they pass you up. Sometimes it's like that. You're so enthusiastic and you run, you're like, oh, this is it. You become a fanatic and so forth. And after a while, it's like, because you didn't know. It was so hard to tell. You didn't know you couldn't run that fast for the whole race. And then all of a sudden everyone passes you. What happened? Well, they paced themselves, but you didn't. So anyway, just something to consider. When you're considering, I want to do this or be on this level, just consider maybe it's more of a desire than an actual ability you have to do. Because what you desire and what you can do are not the same necessarily. Right? Did you ever play your instrument and hear something you can't play, but it's like, I want to play like this musician. It's like, but at least when you were younger and you tried to do it, it's like, I can't do it, So sometimes it's like that in bhakti. I think I could do it, but when I actually play it, it's like, oh, that's harder than I thought. Isn't it? Does that make sense? Like, okay, who else? Yes. Madhuri Bhakti. Sweet Bhakti.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I didn't went to the movie, but I was thinking that when Prahlad Maharaj was in the womb of his mother, all the demigods tried to kill him, but then his guru arrived. And his guru purified him, gave his the Mahamantra, and through his whole life and everything, his guru helped him in his heart and guide him everywhere and give him at any moment what he needed to survive and to help others.
Yes. That's beautiful.
I think
and he in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he appreciates his guru very much. And every disciple feels that their guru saved them. Yeah, because the demons were going to kill, because the son of Hiranyakashipu, let's kill him. And Narada said, no, he's a devotee. And is another thing which is interesting, because Prabhupada talks about Prahlad is in a family. Prahlad's the son of the biggest demon that ever walked the planet, and he's in a school that specifically is teaching atheism and will not allow anything about God to enter the school. So, from the external point of view, that's about as bad as it can get if you want to practice spiritual life, right? Your father is an atheist, the king of the atheists. And Prahlad called him, what did he say?
King.
Yeah, what's the king of the demons? What's the Sanskrit? Asura what? Raj? No, I don't know. But anyway, he said, best of the demons. I forget the Sanskrit. So Prabhupada sometimes uses this example or this situation that you have a person who externally is in an environment which is not at all conducive. That's an understatement to bhakti. It's antagonistic to bhakti, but still he was a bhakta. So Prabhupada says that no material condition can stop bhakti. If there's any material condition that could stop bhakti, that would stop it. And you can imagine if you were in that situation. And his bhakti was so strong, and he was so determined, that the material condition didn't affect him. That's a really important lesson. Because it's not that we don't want to be in a situation that's conducive to bhakti, we do. But sometimes you end up in situations just inevitably, in order to maintain yourself, that are not ideal for bhakti. And you think, oh, this job, it's not ideal, it takes so much time, I have to live in this city, I don't live near a temple, so many things. And it's always nice to remember Prahlad in that example, that no material situation can stop your bhakti. It can make it difficult, obviously. We should be in conducive situations, but sometimes you can't control it, right? Sometimes you end up in the middle of nowhere. Or you end up, you got to drive an hour to work. And it's maybe not a great job, it's not so conducive. But it's nice to remember, no material condition can negatively impact your bhakti if your determination is strong. That's one good lesson of Prahlad. Yeah. I've been in some bad situations and because I knew this principle, I would think, okay, I can't give up and say I can't be Krishna conscious here, because Prabhupada already told me I could. So I have to figure out how to do it, and I would figure out how to do it. And it was kind of like a game. How do you do it here? How do you do it in this situation? This is not a good situation. And I can say that I think that having been in those difficult situations was a blessing, because it made me stronger. Because I learned how to do it, how to be Krishna conscious in those situations. If I wasn't in those situations, I would have never learned how to do it. I would have just been in easy situations, right? So I'm not saying go out now and create difficulty for yourself, but sometimes they come. When the movement was young, a lot of men who got married found that married life was not as conducive for devotional service and bhakti as was brahmachari life, because they had to spend their days now working and taking care of family. It was very time consuming, and they couldn't do all the service they used to do. And it was not uncommon that these men would write Prabhupada and say, this family life is an obstacle, can I take sannyas? This was only after being married a couple of years. And Prabhupada would write letters like this. Your Krishna consciousness is not dependent on your ashram. It's not the fault of being married. That's a misunderstanding. You can be Krishna conscious in any situation. So that's a foundational principle. It's really important. At the same time, we want to be in ideal situations. That's really important. But you choose to get married and you think it's not ideal. You choose this job and you think it's not ideal. Maybe some jobs are not ideal, of course. But you have to do your best within those situations. You can try to do better, get a better situation. But this was quite common. The men wanted to leave because they thought the family life was not conducive. That did not make Prabhupada happy, to say the least. Okay, anything else? Or we should have kirtan?
One question
Yes.
in the live stream. It's from Rukmini Ramana Prabhu from Colombia. If our destiny or karma is to encounter a problem or difficulty, and we pray for protection, will Krishna help?
Yes.
Or why he will help if it's our destiny?
Well, if that destiny becomes an obstacle to your bhakti, he would probably already remove it. So if it's there, then maybe you should think he let it stay there because it'll help you. Oh, here's a good one. Okay, so we go with this. If there's an obstacle that's bad for my bhakti, Krishna will remove it. And if there's an obstacle there, that means it's good for my bhakti. But maybe I don't think it's good. So I got this from the Christian prayer. God, do not make my task easier. Give me the strength to perform the difficult task. Do not make my problems easier. Give me the intelligence to deal with them. So I think that's the way to pray, because that's how you grow, right? Krishna, take away all my problems. And Krishna says, you lazy bum. Face them, stand up, you weakling. We have this little conversation going on between all the stupid things people say to God and how he would reply in a bit of a sarcastic way, but in a common sense way. So, why, Krishna, are you doing this to me? Well, sometimes that's not the question to ask, but the question is, how do I deal with it? Krishna, please give me the strength to deal with it. Give me the intelligence to deal with it. Why are you putting me in this situation? Then, well, maybe he's not. Maybe you put yourself in it. Right? Sometimes we think, it's just my karma, Well, you created your karma. What did you do to create it? Maybe you should do something different. If you can, right? Anyway, that's a general answer. Could be so many. I don't know, I'm not talking about any specifics. So if I don't know the specific, I might say something that upsets you, but I don't know exactly what you're talking about. That's a general answer. Now, if you want to get even more KC, this is where it gets really difficult. Krishna consciousness is not easy all the time, because the Bhagavatam says, whatever's happening, you deserve it, and just tolerate it, and move through it, and that's how you'll go back to Godhead. So, you learn from it, you move through it, you tolerate it as best you can. What can you do? Sometimes it doesn't seem like we deserve it, but who knows? But somehow we have to tolerate it and heal and move forward. Because the most important thing is to connect with Krishna, isn't it? And whatever's in the way, we want to work through that somehow. And who's ever at fault, sometimes you don't know, or it seems like this person's at fault, but maybe there's other factors. But you want to work through it. And use the problem to get you closer to Krishna, because problems can be very helpful in becoming Krishna conscious. And when you have problems, then you have chances to heal. And you can grow through the healing. And you also have chances to help other people heal once you heal. Right? So, maybe Krishna put you through this problem so you could help others heal once you've healed yourself. Who knows? But at least don't allow things to get in the way of your relationship with Krishna. That's important. Because they do. Often they do. And that's not good. Everyone has problems. And a lot of times we think, well, my problems are bigger than everyone else's. Maybe you feel they are. And maybe for you in that sense they are. But everybody's got problems, right? Husbands leave wives, kids, go off and do horrible things, don't call their parents for 10 years. You have a business, it's going well and it crashes, you lose millions of dollars. This is just like normal life, isn't it? Divorce, death, everybody goes through it. Abuse, right? And Bhagavatam says, if you can see everything as, that probably I'm so sinful I should have got worse. That's a very high level to think, but that's what it says. And it says, and if you do that, you are in a position to go back to Godhead. That you're not complaining, you're just accepting it. And that's, Now you might say, but what if someone else was abused? Would you say that to them? I wouldn't say that to them. That would be something they would have to conclude, if they ever do conclude that. For them, I would, you try to comfort them and help them. But you can't deny what the Bhagavatam says, because it says it. So it's kind of more for us. And maybe you're not ready to accept it, that's fine. Just work through it, heal it. And maybe once you heal it, you can look at it. And the other thing is, it's like karma is so difficult to understand. You know, how can, you know, and how we attract people who may harm us, you know. You know, sometimes you'll go somewhere and something bad will happen, and everyone said, "Oh, nobody goes there. You shouldn't have gone there. That's a dangerous place." You didn't know. Was that supposed to happen? Who knows? But we're supposed to think like that. Hare Krishna. Yes.
About movie. I liked that Prahlad had zero resentment to his family members, his father, auntie, and he always came back to father's place, his home.
Oh, yeah.
And also he was a well-wisher to everyone and protected his classmates. Not himself, he prayed, but
he was respectful to his father, but he was also straightforward. He didn't, you know, I mean, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Here's the most powerful person on the planet. Vishnu has killed his brother. Vishnu is his enemy. And Prahlad is bold enough, respectfully, bold enough to talk about how much he loves Vishnu, who is the enemy of the family. Wow. Knowing that by saying that his father could kill him, and still he says it. Wow. Hare Krishna. Did you notice that? He keeps coming back, preaching to his father. That's pretty bold. Very respectful. He knows how his father thinks, and he knows his father's probably not going to like what he says, but he says it. And that's what aroused so much anger in Hiranyakashipu that he wanted to kill him.
Maybe he didn't have any other option. Like, he didn't have any other option, I had a feeling, because this is what he felt. This was his devotion.
That's who he is, yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah. He could have been diplomatic and like that, but yeah, it's not who he is. Anna wants to say something.
Is that unintelligent for us to do?
When you meet Hiranyakashipu and tell him he's a demon, the best of the demons. If you're not Prahlad, probably it's not a good idea. I mean, this is a good point, because we have to use our discretion. But I think, like we're discussing in the case of Prahlad, that's who he was. So it wasn't a question of should I or shouldn't I. That's just, it's like I have, you know, this is what I have to say. If you want to kill me, that's fine. So if you feel that way, yeah, no problem. Say it, you know. But discretion helps. I don't think Prabhupada wants us to go to some program, you know, that somebody's doing and stand up and say, you're a demon. Even if you feel like it. So, for us, we want to take the example that Prahlad was fearless. And he preached fearlessly. So that example's there. But like what you exactly say, you don't go up to people and say, you're a demon and a pretty good one. And I can make you a devotee. You know, it's not.
Okay, Prahlad and his father had a father-son relationship, which means there was a lot of love involved, and that's why he felt he should tell him, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. He was trying to help him. I got the sense that Prahlad was thinking, maybe I can convince my father. And Prahlad was experiencing, that was there, because Prahlad wanted to help his father, so he kept saying you should worship Vishnu, because if you don't, your life is you'll suffer. So he did have compassion, so when he, also, well, it's not that when he said, oh, best of the demons, he was offending Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was proud that he was the best of the demons. So it was like an honorific title.
Praising.
So it wasn't like, oh, you're calling me a demon. That was a compliment. Suravara, Asura Vara, the best, best of the Asuras. They always talked about we are the Asuras, this is our race. We want to dominate the Suras. So, Suravara, best of the Suras. That was a compliment. So he was just, so this is a good point. He wasn't offending him, and he was preaching to him out of compassion to save him from imminent disaster that was going to come. So then we can say, we could copy that, of course. If you're going to get your head cut off for saying something, probably you shouldn't say it. But Prahlad, that was not a concern for him. He was more concerned to help his father. So that's beautiful. We should have kirtan and prasadam. It's already late. One more question?
One question, 15 minutes kirtan, prasadam.
Maharaj, this question is not regarding Prahlad Maharaj or anyone, but something. Okay, so the question is, what is the right way to introduce Krishna consciousness to young children? Because and in a way that they really would like to be a part of Krishna consciousness process. It shouldn't be a force on them. They should really want to do it. This is since I'm going through this right now.
I just did a course with my daughter for teenagers, and I think young kids are different, but definitely making it fun. That's important. And my wife always felt that they should find things that they like to do. And that things, like they like kirtan, the girls like to dance. I think they like drama. So if they can participate in temple activities, they can contribute to temple activities through dramas, through kirtans. They tend to like that kind of stuff. And sometimes you just have to ask them, what would you like to do? They like festivals, right? Yeah. So it's not I'm not so expert, but even in adult education, the training I got to do facilitation of seminars, they said it's very important that it's fun. When it's fun, you learn more. So the facilitators would always make it fun. They would always joke all the time. You'd be laughing like all the time. And so I think making it fun is really important. Making it interesting for them, relevant, engaging them, and so they feel part of the community. They can do things. Otherwise, it's the adults doing everything, and not them. In Alacha, we have students that learn Mridanga, maybe 15 or so, and they perform periodically. So they have the younger kids and the older kids. And then we have dance groups we have like 5-year-olds, then the next class, like the 8 to 10, and the next, and the teenagers, and they all perform. So that's good. A lot of the kids, when they're asked to go on stage to do something, lead a kirtan, be an MC or whatever, give a lecture, I'll say, aren't you like self-conscious? They say, no, from the age of 5 I was on stage performing. So I'm used to it. But that's nice. Men, they say, well, how do you know what a woman wants? I say, well, just ask your wife. Don't you have to read all these books? Well, you could, but you could ask her. So it's like, how do I know what the kids want? Just ask them. Right? Cooking, I don't know. The boys just give the boys mridangas, and the girls what they like. The girls like mridangas also, some. I'm not expert, but stories, they like stories. If you're teaching kids, be a good storyteller. And you can ask Carolyn, she teaches kids. She'll tell you. They like to sing, right? Sing and dance. And play around. Okay, let's sing and dance and play around. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Go Premanandi. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.